Hello. Today's daily learning target is I can interpret figurative language in The Lightning Thief. Earlier in this lesson, we talked about what figurative language was. We know that figurative means not interpreted in a literal way, and language is represented by symbols, figures, or images. So we know that we're talking about words or phrases that are not meant to be literal. Now, you have heard this term before in elementary school, but we are going to go over types of figurative language that will be used not just in this lesson, but also in the unit and the rest of the modules as well. We are going to be reviewing simile, metaphor, personification, and hyperbole. A simile is a comparison of two unlike things using the words like or as. Now, sometimes we see the words like or as and we automatically assume it's a simile. Please remember that it has to also compare two unlike things. And remember, a comparison is when you look at things to see how they are similar or different. For example, page 18 of The Lightning Thief says, words have started swimming off the page, circling my head. The letters doing 180s as if they were riding skateboards. Now we're going to focus on the second underlined part in the sentence for our example. So here, letters are being compared to skateboards using the word as. So what could this simile mean? Well, we can make an inference based on the comparison. We know that letters are written in a book and Percy's trying to study for class. We also know that when people ride skateboards, they move fast, they go to different locations, they do jumps and tricks. Therefore, we can infer that the author was trying to show us that was trying to show us that to Percy, the letters in the book moved around on the page instead of staying in one place. This allows us to know that Percy has difficulty reading. Our next word is going to be metaphor. A metaphor is a comparison of two unlike things. For example, on page 13 of Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, it says, Mrs. Dodds was a sandcastle and a power fan. We know that Mrs. Dodds is not actually a sandcastle. She was a person or a monster that was recently struck with a sword. So what could this metaphor mean? We can make an inference based on the comparison. We know that sandcastles are made up of little pieces of sand, and we know that a fan blows things all over the place. Therefore, we can most likely infer that the author is trying to say that Mrs. Dodds turned into a bunch of little pieces that began blowing all around. Safe to say, she might not come back. Our next term is going to be personification. Personification is giving an inanimate object human-like characteristics. Now remember, inanimate is something that is not living. For example, on page 18 it says, words had started swimming off the page, circling my head. The letters doing 180s as if they were riding skateboards. Now, while we've seen this sentence before, this time we're going to focus just on the first underlined part. So we know that words cannot actually swim. So what could this example of personification mean? Well, we know that we can make an inference. We know that Percy is trying to study for class, and we also know that when you swim, you're moving around in the water, you're kind of going back and forth, and your arms and legs have to move for you to go anywhere. So we can infer that the words in the book that Percy is reading looks like they're moving around his head, making it hard for him to study. Our final word is hyperbole. Hyperbole is use of exaggeration to emphasize a point. Remember that exaggeration is used to describe something as larger or greater than it really is. And to emphasize means it's used to give special attention to something. So from page 3, we know that Nancy Bobofit was throwing things at Grover, and Percy goes on to say, I'm going to kill her, I mumbled. Well, we know that Percy's not going to actually kill her, so why would he say this? What could this hyperbole mean? Well, we know that Percy and Grover are bothered by Nancy a lot. We also know that when someone says something as strong as they're going to quote unquote kill someone, they're usually simply mad at them, annoyed, irritated, or they just want them to go away and leave them alone. Therefore, we can infer that Percy does not like Nancy and wants her to leave him and his friends alone. So, as you can see, figurative language doesn't mean what is literally written on the paper. You have to dig a little bit deeper, think about some of the terms that we just used, and help yourself understand what the author is trying to say. Your next task is going to be for you in a small group or partner to review your figurative language note catcher. You are going to go through question by question and determine what the sentence means based on the type of figurative language given to you. Make sure that everyone in your group or your partner as well knows exactly what the answer is so that you can both have an understanding. Thank you very much.